Looking forward to the best Christmas ever, filled with fun, smiles, and laughter.
Greetings and salutations, guys. Eric here with my review of Terrifier 3. Third part in a trilogy that's had a really interesting route going from this ultra low budget first film to an ultra low budget sequel that really kind of became a breakout. And you consider that Terrifier 2 cost $250,000 and then brought in $15 million worldwide. That's an amazing return on investment. It turns out that there was a big enough audience of sickos out there ready to see the sicko stuff happening on screen. So now we've got Terrifier 3 picking up 5 years later with Sienna, played by Lauren Lavera again, released from a wellness center, only to find her worst fears are realized as Art the Clown returns to once more leave an incredibly bloody, fleshy, and, chunky trail through town. Except this time, the movie jettisons the Halloween setting of the first two for Christmas time mayhem. So I should explain that as a big horror movie fan, I actually somehow kind of missed the whole Terrifier thing. I did not see the first two until very recently when knowing this third movie was coming. I said, okay, it's time to watch these. And I don't know, they just didn't really land for me. I love horror films. I love gory films. I love over-the-top movies that completely go all in this sort of viscera and disgustingness. But these ones just felt a bit off for me. The pacing of it, there was something about it that I just didn't get grabbed by it, though I did think the second one was a much better made movie than the first. And I am happy to say that this third movie I do think is the best one yet, and one that I think definitely delivers everything that the fans of this series are going to want to see. Leone's skills as a director continue to improve, and there's a really nice sense of style to this one, and the way it embraces its Christmas setting, and how that can feel innately creepy. The trademark and infamous, completely insane kills, I think, completely deliver what the audience is going to want and expect from Terrifier 3. And actually, I think that the makeup effects are the best yet in this movie. Look, they have always been highly imaginative. You can say what you will about what is actually happening and who the hell would think up this sort of thing, especially if you're not into horror. But it's creative, right? This time, though, I actually think they feel a little more real. I don't think that people's flesh looks quite as like it's made out of gelatin or taffy in this one, and you can feel the impact as you see things happen that should not happen to the physical form. Although I do have to say that I do find it darkly amusing in all three of these movies that Art's victims live as long as they do, considering what is happening to them, the trauma of what is occurring to them, and yet they continue to scream and blink and breathe and react. I don't know. I'm just saying it would take a lot less axe swings to take me out, so I guess kudos to them, although I guess they're not living their best lives in those last few moments. Once again, these murders are absolutely merciless. It doesn't matter if you're a man, woman, or child. Art is going to get you, and there is once again a big standout sequence. The sequence guaranteed to have people talking afterwards. This time it involves a couple of naked people and a chainsaw, and the meeting between them and what occurs when that happens. There have been these reports of early screenings of Terrifier 3 of people puking or running out of the theater disgusted. I would hope if you pay to see Terrifier 3, you know what's in store for you. Whether you've seen the first two movies or you've done your research. I hope you're not going, oh, Terrifier 3, I hear that's a cool horror series. I'm gonna get a ticket for that sight unseen, because most people, if they know these movies, they know this is what to expect. This is what you want. And so here it is, as splashy and gooey and chunky as ever. I should also mention that it feels like Leone wants to really atone for the first movie a little bit, because while Art will, stab and tear and, smash every person equally, it seemed like in that first movie, it got pretty nasty and cruel with a couple of the female characters, and the fact that he so specifically targeted their female body parts. And it felt like in Terrifier 2, there was a little bit of a makeup for that, with the fact that there was that one guy who got stabbed in the crotch over and over again. In Terrifier 3, one male character, things go very badly for him in a way that is definitely echoing a kill from the first movie, and it feels like this is Leone saying, okay, this is some equal opportunity kills here, and it was appreciated. Leone's scripts and their pacing could still use some work. Terrifier 3 is a few minutes shorter than Terrifier 2, actually, but at 2 hours and 4 minutes, it still feels like it's about a half hour longer than it needs to be. What makes that really blatant is that for the first hour of the movie, Sienna and Art have very separate storylines, and hers is kind of a now requisite plot line when you bring back a survivor from a previous horror film, where she is dealing with her trauma and her PTSD, and she has no idea for so long in this movie that Art is in fact back and killing people again. But the movie does pick up the pace in the second half, and I also think Terrifier 3 has the best sense of humor of the entire series so far. And that's in the over the top, insane, dark humor, but just also some little gags. There is a moment where Art knocks over a couple of people because he's so excited about something else that's happening that just made me laugh a lot. This series also really benefits now by having two strong center characters with both Art and Sienna. There have been so many evil clowns in horror that it's a real testament to both Leone and to actor David Howard Thornton that Art still can stand out as much as he does. And Thornton's completely silent performance continues to be really great and really hold the screen. And as we saw in the second film, Lavera makes for a really strong and compelling final girl, even as the storyline mixes in more about Sienna being basically a chosen one type character, something that Terrifier 2 introduced. And on the lore front, a really strange thing about the Terrifier films has been how little explanation or backstory is given about Art as a character, and what the hell is he? The fact that this is this deranged clown, but that we saw by the end of the first movie, he can just survive a gunshot that blows out the back of his head. And then the second movie raised the ante way further because he got his head freaking chopped off. And then, reminder, a woman, Victoria, his survivor from the first movie, who's now disfigured and deranged, gave birth to that decapitated head, which was alive. You know, typical story. But we didn't have any idea why that was. What the hell was going on? Terrifier 3 gives a bit more of an explanation for some backstory here than we've ever gotten before, but it still feels like it's not something Leone is that interested in, and it's not his strong suit. I think it's better to kind of just go with the flow here and say that Art is a guy dressed like a clown who's probably not human, and if you decapitate him, his head might come out of the body of a woman and be alive again, because why not? The Terrifier series getting bigger and more popular means there are now more recognizable actors who are popping up in cameos here. Chris Jericho returns from the end of the second movie, and then you've got familiar faces like Daniel Roebuck and Clint Howard, and the Lost Boys star Jason Patric appears in a couple of flashbacks as Sienna's father. Though you know what I wish they had kept from the second movie on the lore side? The pale little girl. She was one of the greatest parts of the second movie. She was so cool and creepy. And yeah, they might have to recast her because that kid has gotten older. But maybe they don't, because there are no rules here. So they can do whatever the hell they want with this character that might have only been in Art's mind, but maybe not because other people saw her. All I know is I missed her in this one. I remain someone who kind of keeps the Terrifier series at arm's length. This was the most enjoyable one for me so far. But it's really not going to be in the top tier for me if you're telling me to name horror franchises. And when it comes to even ones that are about body horror and tearing people apart, I like the Saw movies better on that front. But I get the appeal of Terrifier, and I really get what Art the Clown now is an icon. He's a true new horror icon. And it's hard to create a character that can make this sort of impression, and Damien Leone deserves a lot of credit for doing just that. So it's a light recommendation for me on Terrifier 3, just because this series isn't really my cup of tea, but at the same time, I think if you dug Terrifier 2, you're going to dig this one as well, because that movie was definitely a big step up from the first one, and I think you can see that they learned a lot of lessons there, and this one I think is better, and it's the best one yet. I do hope that as they go on, because there's inevitably going to be a Terrifier 4, they can learn even more lessons and maybe, cut to the chase a little more. Don't do so much build-up. Don't have some sequences play out as long as they do, but they've got something there, definitely. With Art and with Sienna, it is a fun, insane world. They use fun for us people that can watch something this sick and twisted and find the fun in it, because we're certainly out there. And for those people who might walk in randomly and end up puking, I'm sorry, but also read up on Terrifier. Look up some pictures from Terrifier, because you'll know if Terrifier 3 is for you or not pretty damn quickly. So those are my thoughts on Terrifier 3, hitting theaters this weekend, now projected to possibly be number 1 because Joker 2 is bombing so hard. That is crazy, right? I guess we have a new clown prince of crime, and what a criminal he is in Art the Clown. All right, guys, if you can like and subscribe, that'd be great. Thanks. Take care.